What is up, jabronis? JJ back here with Ali Mac. I got a few things to say before we get the show started. For one thing, Ali decided to wear her Angels hat today. The Angels have been an absolute bankroll killer for me this year. It almost feels like that's just getting stuck right up my ass. Like I don't even like. It just feels like it almost feels like she should start the show in a timeout for the hat. But anyway, so real quick. Ali comes off a 2-0 debut on this show last week. And apparently when you go 2-0, when she goes 2-0 on anybody's show, she has to be like re-invited to a show she already committed to doing weekly. Messaged her about 2 hours before the show. Hey, you ready for the show? What show? I mean, like, are we fucking kidding? Are we kidding? So yeah, anyway, so yeah, I guess she, wasn't ready for any show today, for whatever the fuck reason. But we made it, and just a tough act to follow from last week.
I said, correction, you said, hey, Lynn, I'm setting up the show link. Are you back this week? You didn't say, you asked if I was coming back.
First of all, it's called being kind. I could have said, yo, show starts in 2 hours. What do you want, a milk carton? I could have said that.
I said, God damn it, I look like a crackhead. So, but here I am. Here we are, 2 hours later. I am on the show, looking like a crackhead, ready to talk some baseball.
Lucky for all of us, thank the Lord. Say a quick shout to the chat. Nathan, my guy, how are you? Best of luck with Tampa. I'll talk on the Tampa game brief. I know it starts in like 10 minutes. Rants, Tim, I'll tell you what, it's a pretty funny comment. Yeah, I mean, I've done that a few times, I guess. No, I haven't. I'm just kidding. Relax.
That was a good tweet that you put out this morning.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you approve. I don't even considering you approve of any corn dog related tweet. I don't know how to approach that, but that's fine. I appreciate it.
Listen, I sent that tweet you put out yesterday about the lady at the fair with that corn dog that was like 8 feet long. She was like, "Damn, where can we buy those?" I was like, "I know."
That's so disgusting. That is so disgusting. It stays properly on brand on your end. River Rat, Leroy, Trav. What's up, everybody? All right, so yesterday, I lost my under on the solo play, capping the streak at 3 wins in a row. There was only about 15 home runs that Joe Ryan gave up in that game. It was such a weird start because I could be wrong. I think he had like over 20 swings and misses. He had like 7 or 8 Ks, and just like it looked like he had really good stuff, and then just occasionally, or more than occasionally, just gave up a home run. It was a tough start to watch. I mean, imagine pitching in the best pitcher's park in baseball and doubling your career total and home runs given up in a single start. Nice. Just a wild start on that end. But all in all, here we are. We're back. Al, what'd you think of your debut last week? You went 2-0. You gave a lot of good quality information on some games.
Yeah.
Well, how do you rate your performance 1 through 10?
I would say, well, maybe an 8, since I was just getting used to the show, but I came on and I provided 2 winners. One being a Braves winner, no less. Like,
could you know how I know I'm rubbing off a bit? The fact that she didn't say she was a 10 last week. I mean, she came on the show for the first time, did a long show, gave out 2 winners, and grades herself an 8. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. But no, all in all, I was glad to have you and good to have you back this week. Obviously, a tough act to follow, but we'll run through the cards. So Saturday, July 30th. We will start with the 1:00 game. Again, they're doing this weird thing where they scatter the games again, 1 at 1, 1 at 2, 1 at 3, a bunch at 4. Right. So the first game up, hold on, just loading on this end. Okay, so the Rays and the Guardians, Kluber and Plesac. Kluber's a $1.45 favorite, total 7.5. Before I give my thoughts, because these are not 2 pitchers I like, anything you like here, Allie?
Yeah. Well, the game's about to start, so I'm going to kick it off and take the underdog as a favorite in this game. I never give underdogs, so you
like Zach Plesac here, plus 125.
Well, I wouldn't say I like Zach Plesac. I like the Guardians more in this spot. I think they are correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they look a little more healthier than the Rays at this point. So I'm going to favor them over the Rays. But I want to be clear, I'm not a Zach Plesac fan, if this makes sense.
So you don't like Plesac at all, but it's a pricing. It's 125. So it's nice. I would argue Kluber shouldn't be that big of a favorite here. Now, granted, me personally, I'm with you. I'm not a Plesac guy myself. It just seems like he's always in trouble. But Kluber hasn't exactly been pristine either. Mm-hmm. I do think the totals make some sense as well with where it's at 7.5. So hold on. So folks, I know some of you said you fired on the Rays here, but it does look like Ali liked. That was a bet because I know we talked on a few things.
I wouldn't say it's an official bet, but in my mind, I'm gonna.
Okay, cool. So we lean there at 125. I don't mind that at all. I definitely can't lay $1.50 with Kluber. That's for the total. Again, I think it's fair. Both teams definitely have below average lineups, and obviously good bullpens as well. So yeah, stay away spot for me and folks counting at home. Ali Mac leans the Guardians at plus 125. All right, so Yankees Royals. Yanks minus 295. They were just minus like 315. That line's kind of moving and shaking. Jonathan Heasley here as well. Now I have a bet I like, but Ali, I know you have an interesting bet, a derivative, as the cool kids may say, that you like at an interesting price. So what do you like here?
My first official pick of the day, I love Nestor Cortez. So I am taking Nestor Cortez to record a win. I got him, it was plus 105 when I found it. Right now, right before we hopped on, it was minus 110 for Nestor Cortez to record a win. So that's my first official pick of the day.
Now I'll say this, and maybe the chat knows, and I don't. These are not bets I make often, so I don't even know what this market normally looks like. From what I remember,
I've never placed a pitcher to record a win bet before. This is my first one, but I just like the spot.
Wow, get it in there. Get it in there. So I've always thought these bets, and again, I'm looking for the chat for you guys to correct me if I'm wrong. I always thought these bets were more or less half of the money line. So I always thought that if the money line was in this case 300, typically you had to pay like minus 150 for the pitcher to record a win. Or if the line was minus 180, you'd more or less pay like plus 100 for the pitcher to record a win. Mm-hmm. This line just seems so weird. And maybe it's just me, again, because I don't make these bets often, so I don't know. But that seems like a super solid bet. And I know Cortez hasn't exactly been himself for a bit, but I mean, it's a great spot for them. It was nice to see the Yank sticks get going. By the way, I show up to a Yankee game. There's both pitchers look like Nolan Ryan, and the day after, there's like 300 runs scored. So table that.
If you go, I believe you said you're going to another Yankees game soon. If you put out a bet for that Yankees game, I just want everyone to know that it should be an immediate fade because JJ is 0-2 the Yankees games he's attended this season.
You know what? That's a quick 30-second timeout. I mean, could you imagine coming on this show and being like, yeah, the next bet he gives out for the game he goes to, everyone needs to collectively fade that bet. So we'll see in 15 seconds. So for my pick, I like the Yankees here under 9. I said Yankees. The game under 9. I think it's currently minus 115 DK. It might be a better price somewhere else. For me, this total's a bit high. And I know that yesterday there was a lot of runs scored. And the day before there really wasn't. Now, granted, this Royals lineup, obviously since they traded Benintendi, who very quietly was batting 320. I didn't even realize he was hitting that well. You look at this Royals lineup. It's not terrible, but granted, it's not by any means a lineup you would think would normally produce runs against a good arm. Now, it does scare me a bit that Cortez is lefty, and a lot of the bats from the Royals are right-handed. A lot of their good bats anyway. We do get decent lineups from both teams here. I'm surprised they have Benintendi in the 3-hole, though. I guess it's kind of like, where do you put him? But he's got doesn't have a whole lot of pop. But needless to say, obviously, it splits it up to righty-lefty, and they're sitting Rizzo today, if I believe so. Yeah, they're sitting Rizzo. Either way, Heasley's a guy I've liked. He's got decent K upside. Granted, he can definitely get himself into trouble, but Cortez hasn't been pitching as well of late, but I think it's a good spot overall. He gets a depleted lineup, a good confidence building start. It's warm today, but it's not like crazy warm. So I don't think we're going to get crazy carry there either. But needless to say, so that's what I fired on. Under 9, Yankees Royals. Ali, thoughts? Should we be fading?
No, you're not at the game.
I'm just kidding. Under 9, minus 115. And I got that at DK. Great. You might be able to find a better number there somewhere else, but it's NYKC. Yes, and just so you know, 100%. Ali found that at DraftKings. It's actually currently live at DraftKings.
Minus 110. Yes.
Look at this. Ali has patient like Holden. Better at Ali Mac to Sunday and dump Holden. Poor Holden. Always gets the short end of the stick. Poor Holden. I mean, the guy does a video recording at Circus Sports and the entire place floods. It's just a shame with the element that he brings.
Don't you think it's a bit odd that he was there and it floods? You know,
I don't think it's coincidence. I think he's got some
they should
demonic things about him. I don't know. He gives off weird vibes.
We should definitely invest that. I'll file a report or something.
Yeah, go to file a report with our HR department, which Holden manages. So
just
start it with him, and then we'll go from there. Royals got hustle last night with 310. Yeah, the Royals have looked. I mean, like I said, they've looked decent. At least they've been in contention. It seems like when they don't score, the other teams don't score. When they've been scoring, other teams have. But they've been close for a lot of games. Yeah, I can't. Holden needs the corn dog, Allie. All right, so moving on. Blue Jays, Tigers, Russ Stripling, Drew Hutchinson. Now, I will say this. So the Jays continue to be these massive favorites in these games, and granted, it worked out yesterday. I think they won yet, but they got themselves out of a jam. I think it was bases loaded, no outs, and the Tigers got like almost no runs, maybe one run from it.
Yeah.
I think Hutchinson's not bad. I think he's one of their better starters, but this is a big ask for him in this spot. I don't personally like anything in this game at all. But Allie, do you have anything?
No, I mean, despite their loss last night, I think the Blue Jays are kind of on fire. They're 8 of their last 10 games they won. They also have the best batting average in baseball at 267, ranking 3rd in team runs. But I didn't really look at taking anything in this game. I just think I like the Blue Jays, but nothing is being placed.
I don't blame you. The line's a little thick too, and it's hard. There's so many really good teams this year and so many really bad teams that we're getting a lot of these like thick lines. And granted, this happens post All-Star break where teams start to kind of let up, and the bigger teams are obviously just trying to continue to win games. So I expect more of this. But yeah, these types of lines are just very tough to play, especially if you're betting any type of run line or anything like that. For Chachu on your end, we briefly discussed this game. Ali Mac did like the Guardians at the price. Not enough to fire. She was hoping to be a little juicier of a line, but at plus 125, she did lean the Guardians.
Yeah. Speaking of juiced lines, Junkel and I have had a few conversations in regards to our terrible losing streak at Bank on It, which is the show that I host here. And we often debate taking like a Yankees money line minus 350 just to like lock in a win.
No, none of this that's a one-sided. She's like, yeah, we both are thinking about laying 350 with the Yankees. No. You're thinking about laying 350 with the Yankees. But yeah, we'll win.
Like, say you place like a $10 bet on that. What do you even win? I'm terrible at math, so I don't.
That'll pay about like $2.50.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm being serious. I'm not kidding. Maybe it'll pay like $2.80.
It's more about the win rather than the cash.
Yeah, getting on the board. On the board. But yeah, my suspension ends this week, so I should be back on next week, barring any crazy suspension that happens in between.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Red Sox, Brewers, Nick Pivetta, Eric Lauer. As some of you may know, I do not bet Red Sox games. Maybe that'll stop at some point, and maybe I'll begin betting their games again. They are just a team I absolutely never get right. I mean, I joke about the Angels, but I at least have a win or two, whether I faded them or bet a total for the Angels this year. I have no wins betting on Red Sox games, and I stopped betting them in April. Nick Pivetta is not a guy I trust by any means. It will be somewhat warm today in Boston, but this line does feel a little high, considering the Boston lineup is still pretty heavily degraded. Granted, we don't have a lineup yet, but they're dealing with some injuries to big bats still. Needless to say, I call it a small lean from me in favor of the Brewers. I don't love the spot by any means, though, and I definitely did not bet it. Do you like anything here, Allie?
Yeah, so actually Steve came on Bank on It yesterday. He took the Brewers' first 5 run line, and they scored a run in the 6th, of course. So, but I still like the Brewers today. I'm going to follow Steve's lead yesterday and take the Brewers again today. I think the Red Sox are just so cold. Like you said, they're just not a fun team to bet on. And I think if we could get the Brewers to generate a little more at the plate, they'll be good in this spot.
Yeah, makes sense. And I'll tell you this. So, Quef Master, if only you knew, Quef, that Allie's got like another 6 favorite teams. So
yeah. Let me give you a little fun fact here, Quef. My dad used to work for the Cubs, hence the Cubs flag. And the Angels, I'm a big Ohtani fan. So let me just clear that up for you a little bit.
Yeah, see, you see a little passive aggressive behavior from Ali to
Listen, don't comment unless you know the background.
A non-threatening troll. Quef will survive. All right, so next game up. Marlins Mets. So I don't think we have a pitcher yet for the Marlins. Let me tell you something. So as somebody who bet the Mets yesterday, so the line moved. Obviously, Alcantara always sees money, and the line opened minus 155. It closed at near minus 120. I mean, I got it minus 120. It might have closed even less than that. I just felt you're going to give me the Mets against the Marlins. I don't care who's pitching for the Marlins. It gets steamed down to 120. I'll take the Mets every time. And then when they go down 3-0, I wasn't exactly feeling great. But Alcantara probably had his worst start of the year. He had so much hard contact. I'd argue he should have given up like 7 or 8 runs. I mean, just a tremendous amount of guys are runners in scoring position. There was a few a few balls that were a few feet short of a homer. That could have been a brutal start for him. It ended up only being, I think, 4 earned. But it was nice to see the Mets kind of rally back late. And Edwin Diaz, absolutely love this guy. Loved him in Seattle. He comes in yesterday in the 9th. I think he struck out 3 guys on 10 pitches. Just an absolute freak every night. As it relates to this game, since I don't have a Marlins pitcher, I don't like talking on these types of games without knowing who's actually pitching. I do like Carrasco, but he can be hit and miss at times. I think his record is a lot more the fact that he plays for a good team versus how he's pitched. But he's been a great story regardless. Any thoughts here, Ali?
No, I did kind of say I think since the Marlins don't have a pitcher yet, but personally I don't think it matters here. Carrasco, I'm expecting him to come out do good tonight, but no other comments on this game. Didn't really pay much attention.
Can't blame me. Okay, so Reds, Orioles, Tyler Mahle. It's weird. I hear some people say Molly, but I'm pretty confident it's Mahle. Dean Kramer.
Mahle.
Was it?
It's Mahle.
Is it Molly?
Mahle.
Like Molly, like the drug?
No, Mahle. Like Mahle.
Is it French? I don't think he's French.
I didn't. Oh my God.
Mahle.
No, well, no, you're saying it like in a bad way. It's Mahle. Tyler Mahle.
Mahle. All right, I'll take your word for it. Warm game today in the Big American Small Park. I'll be honest, I don't love anything about this. This would normally be a spot where I'd like to target an over. You get 2 decent arms in a game where the total is not that high for this park. Obviously, we know this park can see totals up past 10, especially in warm weather. It's not super warm, but it's warm. With that in mind, I do slightly lean the over here. Mahle has been better at home. He still has issues with walks, and the Orioles are just hitting. Like, it just seems like every game they're just consistently getting guys on. They've been doing it all year. Earlier in the year, they weren't winning games because they weren't producing with runners in scoring position. They finally started to do that. They have one of the better averages in baseball, better batting averages in baseball. Kramer's been good. I do think he's been a little fortunate, though. I do slightly lean the over here, but don't love it. Ali, any thoughts?
I'm not sure if I love that. Since we got the worst, they've got the worst bullpen ERA. Baltimore has the 3rd best. Full game, I'd probably favor the Orioles, but I don't know. Maybe you're over. Could be a good move because Mahle, in my opinion, he's kind of been awful.
His ERA hasn't been that bad. I know for a fact he was potentially going to be a guy that was traded.
I feel like every time I've watched him pitch this season, it was terrible. So,
the guy has a family. I mean, he came from mother and a father. Can we?
Here we go.
Can we be a little nicer about him?
That's like you. You're the type of guy that defends Joey Gallo.
Well, first of all, I've been very critical of my friend Joseph. But yes, I do feel bad. I do feel bad for Joey Gallo. So yes, put that on the slate. But yes, I have been critical of him. And Tyler Mahle has a family, and we should treat him with a decent amount of respect.
I apologize.
Don't apologize to me. Slide into his DMs and apologize. All right. So overall, obviously nothing that we truly love from that game. Now, Astros, Mariners, love that the Mariners got Luis Castillo yesterday. Felt like they gave up a lot, so they better be in contention for the World Series in the next 2 to 3 years, because they did give up a lot for him, a lot of their younger talent. Needless to say, it does put them in a better spot, especially since Robbie Ray has become Robbie Ray again, and he sucks. Framber Valdez here, Chris Flexen. Houston's basically 200 or minus 200, totals 8. I'm a big Valdez guy. I feel like on this staff he gets little accolades. This staff is obviously very good, this pitching staff. He just consistently throws really good, and he's one of their few lefties. tough ask for him against this Mariners lineup, but the Mariners have, kind of been a little shaky since the All-Star break, and maybe that pushed them to get Castillo. Obviously, they entered the All-Star break off of like 15 or 16 straight wins. So, yeah, regression was going to come. This start in particular, I don't love flex, and I had high hopes for him this year. He's pitched okay, but I had much higher hopes for him than this. This is a tough ask for him. He's typically a reverse splits guy. He struggles with right-handed bats. We know Houston has a lot of them. This line makes sense to me on both ways, total and the money line. So I'm not a big fan of either. But Ali, any thoughts?
No, I mean, I kind of agree with everything that you said. I've really enjoyed watching some Mariners baseball as of late, but I don't think they can come out here and win.
It's a tough ask. Flexen's going to have to throw well. He can. I mean, he has upside, but again, it's a tough ask, especially.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been decent, but I don't know. The Astros just scare me.
He's mid. Your generation calls this guy a mid.
I don't. Maybe not my generation. Maybe the younger generation, but
no comment. All right, so
Pirates. What are you? You're a millennial?
Millennial.
Me too. Millennial. I'm a millennial as well. I was born in 1996. That's the cutoff.
I thought 95 was the. You know what?
No.
Never mind.
I know.
Never mind. So 2 millennials. Lucky us. All right. So Pirates, Phillies, Mitch Keller, Ranger Suarez. Big Mitch Keller. I'll tell you this. It is nice to see him throwing well. Now, granted, you look at his surface numbers and they're not great. His record's not good, but he pitches for a bad team. His ERA is still high, but it was much higher. This guy has so much had so much potential. Like years ago when he got brought up, he had a lot of good stuff. He was a really good. Some people might call him like a quad A pitcher before this year, where a guy that's seemingly always good in AAA, never good in the majors. But
yeah,
he has thrown much better of late. He's kind of found himself. His issue's always been location. I know my guy Ray Gray Fox is a big Pirates fan, and we've talked a bit on Mitch Keller. It's hard to explain like why he's consistently hasn't been able to be good, because his stuff is really good, but it has been nice for him to kind of median out and be a little better of late. Now here, he draws Ranger Suarez here. This line might seem soft, but Suarez hasn't been that good. I would argue for some value on the Pirates here. I don't love it though, because as we know, Mitch Keller is extremely volatile. But yeah, slight value for me on the Pirates here, plus 130. I don't love the Phillies pen either. So I think there's some value there, maybe even first 5. I did not like it enough to bet it because there's just too much volatility. But anything you like here, Ali?
Yeah, for a second, I almost said this seems easy enough to back the Phillies. And then I saw Ranger Suarez is their starting pitcher, and I completely went numb. And so
numb?
Numb, yeah.
I mean dramatic much?
No. Ranger Suarez is he's that guy that I see on the mound and it just grinds my gears. I cannot stand Ranger Suarez.
Another guy with a family. Another fucking guy with a family. No, he hasn't been great for them. The problem is they just don't have a lot of good. I mean, once you get past Nolan Wheeler, the team really doesn't have a lot of guys they can rely on. Suarez started the year really well, but his advanced metrics said regression was coming, and it did come. Granted, yes. Hopefully he can find himself a bit. It is nice that he's a lefty for this rotation, but he hasn't been great.
I think I took him last week. I took a bet. I took a Braves run line, shocker there. And it was against Ranger Suarez in Philly. And they lost it. So he's on my shit list still. Further down.
Some folks who just can't get right. And you're right, Leonard. It's crazy. Like they can't beat the Astros. It's kind of like the Yankees, right? The Yankees seemingly can't beat the Astros either. As for this is an easy one. The Zoomers, brutal, absolutely brutal.
Boomers or boomers?
What happened?
What is Zoomers?
I thought those were the people.
Isn't it boomers?
But I thought they were. I thought they were in between.
Comment again. Tell us what Zoomers are.
Yeah, let us know, because I thought they were in between. Like I thought they were either right, like a group right after millennials, or the group after the millennials. Somewhere in between boomers and
it's Gen Z. After millennials is Gen Z.
No, I meant the other way. I don't mean.
You mean before millennials.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think. I could be wrong. All right, so moving on. Nationals, Cards. This will be my other best. Oh fuck! I just realized the line.
Uh-oh.
All right, this is gonna be a problem, folks. All right, so I bet this. I didn't realize this line. So I bet this game last night at 9, -120 DraftKings. Obviously, it's 10 now. I'll be honest. I do still like this at 10. I thought this line should have been like closer to 10.5. That was why I thought 9 was such a smash.
Over?
Yeah. So I bet it at 9. Currently it's 10. Here's the thing. This park we know plays much smaller in warm weather. You have practically 2 fly ball pitchers in this park. So Eric Fetty's a huge fly ball guy. He gives up a ton of fly balls, obviously. And Dakota Hudson is a guy that really struggles on the road. He's a much better guy. He's much more trusting at home. He's a guy that consistently gets himself into jams. Granted, he will get the occasional double play to get himself out. These are 2 pitchers that also do not strike anybody out. Now, the Nationals lineup is tough, but the good part here is that you get the Nationals at home. So you're practically, if the Cardinals were to win this game, you're going to get your full 9 at bats from both teams. You have below average pens from both teams. For me, I think granted, these lineups aren't fantastic. I mean, the Cardinals lineup's fine, but the Nationals lineup's not great by any means. But with that said, I do like this over, so I'll have to give it out at 10 here. So other best bet. But again, if you were a run crew member, you would have got it at 9 last night.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Dakota Hudson returning from the IL?
He might be. I honestly don't know, and if it is, even better because the
Cardinals relievers are entering the series with a 3.19 ERA in July. So personally, I actually had this debate with my dad the other night. I consider a good ERA 2.75 and below.
So I'll tell you this. Like I think that, and obviously there's people that have their own perspectives here. There's a large group of people that truly believe ERA means nothing because you can take all the advanced metrics out of it and you can because here's the thing. Obviously, ERA doesn't separate you from ballparks. Like if you're a pitcher in Coors Field pitching every other start at Coors,
right,
your ERA is naturally going to be higher than pitchers throwing in Petco every start. So obviously stats like Sierra and xFIP, those stats help to median out ERAs based on where you're starting and how you're pitching. Now, granted, it is still tough because also ERA doesn't incorporate things like batting average on balls in play, which is a stat seemingly deemed a bit lucky. So I think you can use advanced numbers to help an ERA. I do think ERA is still substance enough where it's valuable. But I do agree kind of like with both sides. I think that the ERA, you're still a pitcher that needs to know the situations you're in and pitches to make in certain situations. And I think the advanced metrics sometimes take that a little too far. Granted, some guys pitching from the stretch are better pitching from the stretch with guys on versus not, no one on. Some guys give up a lot of home runs, but some guys don't. Some guys give up a lot of home runs, but pitch in big ballparks. So again, all that stuff helps to median out ERA. But I do think, like for me personally, I think Sierra is the most critical stat for a pitcher. But again, everybody has their own thoughts. There's no right answer. But just to give some perspective.
Okay.
Any thoughts?
You just went into a full-on breakdown. I didn't expect it. No, I get your point. I get your point about the ballpark. It doesn't, depending on what ballpark you go to, and there's a lot to. This is why I don't take K-props. Taking a K-prop is my least favorite thing to do, except for Shohei Ohtani. There's an exception there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, so next game up. Joe Musgrove, Sonny Gray, Padres Twins. Padres are minus 135, total 7.5. Now, I will be honest. Obviously, we lost the under yesterday. I kind of kicked myself because I know it sounds silly. Sometimes I like to watch the breakdowns back to kind of see where I was right, where I was wrong. I felt like I spent about half that video talking about how good Blake Snell's been, and instead I bet the under in the game. So it's kind of tough. Obviously, Joe Ryan's been great. But and again, it's kind of baseball at its finest, right? Joe Ryan's been one of the least home run prone pitchers in baseball, and he pitches in one of the biggest parks yesterday, and he gives up, I think, 6 home runs. But needless to say, it is what it is. As for this start here, here's the thing: I can't go back and bet the under again because I'd argue this pitching matchup is worse than the pitching matchup yesterday. Now, maybe these guys won't be as home run prone, and Joe Musgrove is a much better pitcher at home, like Blake Snell. So there's that. Sonny Gray is a guy that's typically decent to both righties and lefties, and he's pitching in a bigger park. But that's why I stayed away. And I think Musgrove's a little too thick here, Price, because Gray's good. And I'd argue the Twins lineup, it definitely could be better than the Padres based on a day-to-day lineup card. So I stayed away from this game. Again, I can't bet the under at 7.5 at the same price when I felt the 2 pitchers throwing yesterday were better. But with that said, I can't bet the over because yesterday the game went over because there was literally 8 home runs. I mean, there wasn't a lot of runners in scoring position. Again, for me, betting overs and unders, it's all about foot traffic. Felt like that was kind of right yesterday. There was just a lot of long balls. So I stayed away. But any thoughts here, Allie?
Yeah, are you a Musgrove guy?
I like Musgrove at home. I do.
Okay, yeah, I thought so. I like Sonny Gray too, but I don't know. I wrote down that I like the under in this game, and I completely forgot that you took it yesterday. But
it definitely can get there. Here's the thing with Musgrove. Like Musgrove, and I guess a lot of hitters are starting to see it. Like Musgrove throws a lot of junk, so he throws a lot of non-fastballs outside the zone. Which when he's getting swings and misses, he looks like one of the best pitchers in baseball. But when he's not, and he's missing corners, he's going to walk a ton of guys. Because he consistently relies on swings and misses out of the zone with his tricky stuff. Problem is that this Twins team, they K a lot, but they can also hit a lot of long balls. Like I said, I think yesterday it scared me a bit. It wasn't that warm yesterday in that park either, and there was just a lot of hard contact in that park. But no, I'll be honest, if the under hit yesterday, I probably would have went right back to the well today and bet it again. But that game scared me. That game scared me a bit yesterday. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe that's why it might be a good thing for the under to go back. But I personally stayed away. But I can't mind it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
I like the under in this game. I do. Well, hopefully it doesn't end up like yours did yesterday when you took it.
Based on the way I run, the game will be 1-0 with a walk-off homer in the ninth. White Sox Athletics, Johnny Cueto, Paul Blackburn. White Sox are $1.65. Totals 8. So I don't like anything about this game. I'm not a Paul Blackburn guy by any means. The guy. I don't even know how his ERA is 4.35. It should be much higher. And Johnny Cueto is saying kind of the same thing. I could have bet this over, but man, like these lineups, the Athletics lineup is so tough to trust for runs. And anytime the White Sox don't face a lefty, I have concerns over their ability to score runs, especially when they're not going to hit home runs. This team is also somehow 7 games under 500 at home. Maybe blame Tony La Russa. Needless to say, I don't like anything here. Al, you like anything?
I mean, I don't know how I feel on Blackburn. He's over his last 5. He's allowed at least 5 earned runs in 4 of his last 6 starts. And I also believe he's a ground ball pitcher, which could play in favor of the Sox. They have a 305 batting average on balls at play, but I don't know. Not a game. Yeah.
Speaking of a game, you probably like something in.
Here we go.
Settle the fuck down. Braves and Diamondbacks, Ian Anderson and Corbin Martin. Totals 10 here. Again, another decently warm game in Atlanta, or in the East Coast, if you will, where these balls carry in these parks like Atlanta and Washington and Philly and Cincinnati. Ian Anderson, I can't even believe how much he regressed. I mean, I got more notoriety on him when Joey Work loved him coming up from AAA. And Joey Work was all over that. He came up and he was really good. It was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was. I don't know why he's regressing so much. It looks like his velo is about the same. It must be a location thing. Granted, he's going to draw a Diamondbacks lineup here, which I'll be honest, Diamondbacks have exceeded expectations this year. The fact that this team's only 9 games under, that's actually a pretty good year for them, all things considered. When you look at their lineup and their pitching rotation, kudos. But the Braves are starting to really, flex themselves in this division. And I think, did they surpass the Mets yet, or they're still a game or 2 behind? I don't personally like anything here, but Ali, I think you do, right?
Of course I do. It's the most important game on the slate this evening, JJ. Braves versus the Diamondbacks. I don't want to comment on Ian Anderson. I don't really stand for much Braves slander, let alone for the Braves bullpen pitching staff. As you know, they have a little spot in my heart. But I'm going to give a player prop here for my guy, Mr. Austin Riley, who went 3-4 on Friday with 2 doubles and 3 RBIs. So give me Austin Riley over 1.5 bases.
What'd you get that price at, Allie?
I got it at 120. I think before we hopped on, it was minus 130. It's definitely cheap.
And I will say this: Corbin Martin, the sample size isn't very large. But he has been getting hit hard, by both lefties and righties. So wouldn't surprise at all in this warm weather if Riley gets there. And also the Diamondbacks pen isn't that good either. So no, don't mind it at all. And you couldn't pick a much hotter hitter. It feels like every other night this dude's hitting a homer or driving in multiple runs.
He's so fun to watch. But I mean, I'm biased because I enjoy watching the Atlanta Braves play baseball. So.
Oh, you do? No. All right, so next game up, Rockies.
Earlier, I should put a Braves hat on. I wonder how you feel about that one.
Well, you know, it would have went well. A plain white hat would have went well with the outfit because you got the white, you had the plain white hat. If I was wearing white, I would have worn a plain white hat too. So it feels like a ball drop on your end. Plain white hats fuck. People aren't getting it.
Hat to a plain white hat.
That's a Grand Canyon. Grand Cayman.
It's the golf course in the Cayman Islands, but
how rich, folks.
Here we go.
Imagine going to a golf course in the Cayman Islands. All right. So next game up, Rockies, Dodgers, Dodgers, Kyle Freeland, Clayton Kershaw, totals 11.5. Kershaw's minus 230. I'm pretty sure, and I know this is kind of strange. I'm pretty sure the Rockies are the best home team in baseball. Is that correct?
No. Really?
At least betting wise. I think profit wise betting. I don't know where I saw it. I don't know if it's a run line. I don't know what specific stat it was. Maybe it's they score the most runs at home in baseball, which obviously wouldn't be a crazy stat, to be honest, considering they play in Coors. Maybe that's the stat. They score the most runs at home in baseball. And look, this team is righty heavy. You get Kershaw here. It wouldn't surprise me at all that they touch him up. Now, granted, this total might seem low, but let me tell you something. There hasn't been many Rockies games this year that have been this warm. It will be up past 90 degrees in Coors Field tonight. And that is going to be good for the Dodgers sticks. That's going to be good for the Rockies sticks. Now, granted, I'm a Freeland guy. I like him. However, this is a tough ask of him in this warm weather, in this park, against this, stacked lineup. And as for Kershaw, him and Verlander, I don't know what fountain of youth they're drinking from, but they just consistently throw well year in and year out. And it's nice to see Kershaw get over his playoff woes years back. But he's been great. Verlander's been great. This spot, I think it's a tough ask of both pitchers to throw well here. You might look at this total, or most people might look at this total and think it's high with these two arms. But again, I can't express this enough. It is not often this warm in this ballpark. And this ballpark already has thin air. So these pitchers leave anything up. Any ball hit, within seemingly within 20 or 30 feet of the wall is likely to get out tonight. So I will stay away from this game overall. But Ali, you like anything?
No, I was staying away from this game as well. I kind of had no thoughts. I'm looking at what is the over?
It's now, well, I see 11.5 plus 100, but you probably could get 11 minus 120 at another book.
Wow, that is high. But I mean, again, like you mentioned, everything I could kind of maybe see it happening in that ballpark, but I'm not doing anything in that game.
Yeah, you got two above average arms. I'll tell you this: if the weather in this park tonight was like 65 or 70, this total would be 10.5. But because it would be 10. I mean, but because it's this warm in this park, the total has to be that high. It doesn't really matter who's pitching; it has to be that high.
Yeah.
All right. So Giants, Cubbies, one of Ali's favorite teams. Jacob Junis, Drew Smiley. Junis is minus 140 here. Smiley's plus 120. So Smiley's had a decent year. The lefty, obviously, his K rate's a little down than what I'm used to seeing from him, but he's been okay. It will be a relatively, dare I say, chilly game in San Fran tonight, about 55, 60 degrees. But look, it's hard to love these arms. I know that, their surface level stuff looks good, but the advanced stuff says regression's en route. But again, you're playing in one of the bigger ballparks in baseball. Makes it a tough play for me. I think the Giants are a little too big here, but not enough where I wanted to fire on the Cubs, so I stayed away. But Ali, any thoughts?
I mean, the Cubbies are playing a bit better. I mean, I don't know if I could – is that like an okay statement to say?
A bit better. It's fair. It plays.
Yeah. But no, not a fan. I honestly – I like Junis this season, but I feel like after your comment, you just said you're not a big Junis fan.
No, I'm not. He spent a lot of his days in Kansas City, where he had upside for a year or two, where he was decent. But I've really never been a Junis guy. Granted, like I said, he definitely had upside for a few years back. But right now he might run into form. I haven't followed him that much this year, but I just know based on track history, I've personally never been a Junis guy. But again, maybe he's found this different form. Maybe. All right. So last but not least, your actual favorite team.
Here we go.
Angels, Rangers, Glenn Otto. It's funny. So Chase Silseth, you probably know. Is it Silseth?
Silseth, yeah.
Silseth.
Yeah.
He hasn't been great, but I could be wrong. I thought he had some decent accolades coming up. But But needless to say, he hasn't pitched well at this level.
No.
Glenn Otto gives up a ton of hard contact. The problem is that these lineups have been very blah, and this ballpark has played big, which makes it tough to love the total over with two bad arms. I'd also argue this is as close to a max of a total you'll see at this park. You might see 9 occasionally at this park, but not common at all. I don't like anything here, but Allie, is there anything you like?
No, this is half the reason I wore my Angels hat for this video today. For the first time since this baseball season has started, I went against the Los Angeles Angels last night. And I think the baseball gods were kind of giving me a sign because I took the Rangers first 5 money line. There were no runs scored until the top of the 6th. So it was a draw, but I took it as a sign to maybe never do it again. Anyways, the Rangers ended up winning 7-2, which is exactly how I expected that game to go. So,
do you have anything you like here, or are you just a pass for it?
No. I mean, after last night, I'm kind of staying away. I don't like Silseth. I don't know. I'm not a Silseth fan. I haven't been since the beginning of the season. I think the Rangers are going to win this game if I had to make a decision, but I'm staying away from it. Not again.
I will say this, and I know a few people in the chat, Nathan, you as well, with the over and overtime, saying you like the over. I will say this again. Remember, folks, the sport's long term not as easy as looking at 2 pitchers ERAs and betting overs, or looking at 2 pitchers ERAs and betting unders. Park dimensions play a big factor. This number at 8.5, and it will likely probably close at 9 because it looks like the over is getting pounded. If this goes to 9, I will very likely bet the under, primarily because that is just a massive number for this park. Like, you're not going to see totals above 9 in this park. And I feel very confident over time, if you bet unders at 9 at this park, I don't care who's pitching, you will make yourself money.
Well, there were 9 runs scored last night. So
yeah, they all came late. The good news is that I think both teams left their better bullpen arms there.
Yeah.
But yesterday's not the perfect example because yesterday the total wasn't 9 on the game. I think the total was 8. There were 2 better arms in that game.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying it's probably 9 right now because 9 runs were scored.
Yeah. There was definitely runs extra scored, especially in the back half of the game yesterday, which won't make anybody feel super comfortable about betting an under, knowing that you can go through 5 innings without a run and still lose. But yeah, just some food for thought. I don't mind it. Obviously, I can't make you guys not bet the over in the game. There's 2 bad arms. It definitely could go over.
Listen, I could potentially see the Angels have the back end of their bullpen is painful. They're painful. So I could see it, but
all right, so that wraps it up. We each gave 2 bets each. Allie's best bet was Nestor Cortez to record a win at -110 DraftKings, and Austin Riley over 1.5 bases -130. Also,
that's what it is now.
DraftKings. And I bet the under 9 in the Yankees game at -115, and the over 10 -110 in the Nats game as well. Folks, thank you for all tuning in. Thank you for staying live in the comment section. Appreciate you all. I hope you all enjoy your weekend. Stay safe, run pure, and as always, crush responsibly. See you next week, or actually tomorrow.